how would you access the changes that were made as a small business owner from year to year?
If you're members of any kinds of associations or things like that, you're going to get email news updates on the things that really are going to affect you the most. Some of it is just small. Some of it's just small. This is just a research company that's keeping track of all the changes so that we have an idea.
Well, and the other aspect is, I'm not sure. I used to work on Capitol Hill after college, and I'm not certain that the folks who vote on all these bills read every word and know exactly what they pass. And I mean that, I don't mean that rudely, but that's what happens. So this brings up the third point, which is politics. The tax world is mired in politics, federal, state, and local. I mean, you look at what's going on in Washington, right? You've got some factions of folks who say that just taxation is evil, no more taxes, we need to reduce taxes. You've got other people that say tax the rich, however you define that. And then you've got everybody saying we need a more fair tax system, however you define fair. So there's going to be a lot of politics that need to get worked out. But I think, and I'm hoping that we're going to have some major tax reform, but small business owners don't know what's going to happen. So what I tell all my clients is just stick with the status quo, keep up to date with current events, but you can't really plan for any future tax changes because there's so many, as Patty said, there's so many changes that just happen. There's so many proposals out on the table that I just think you just kind of keep going with the status quo and realize that you have to be flexible. A couple other thoughts on the politics. Look at the state level. I don't know if you guys were familiar with the Georgia Commission on Tax Reform that came out. They had a proposal that came out in December. The Georgia legislature was supposed to vote on it, just an up or down package, no real amendments on it. And it got scuttled. Didn't work. It's a great report. If you read the report, I thought it was fantastic. And I thought it was fantastic because it made everybody angry. Everybody hurt just a little bit, which to me meant it was probably a fair piece of legislation. I mean, we have some serious financial troubles, and there's no magic wand that's going to fix it for us. And so politics got in the way of this legislation, which was it wasn't perfect, but it was certainly a large step in the right direction. So I think we're stuck until we get some real political leadership.
And let me say something. At the federal level, you hear a lot of people complaining about the health care legislation and and how unfair that all is. Well, it's no bigger than the IRS code. None of this is perfect. It just needs to get something in there so that we can get started working with it. And I'm kind of with Mark, maybe we should have started with something so that we could see, okay, this is not working, we make some changes to it. Rather than just say, let's just throw everything out and start from scratch. Sometimes that's harder to do if you have nothing.
In one really good example, and I don't know if there's anyone here from the mayor's administration, and not going into politics, right or wrong, but Mayor Reed saw some big issues in the Atlanta City budget, and he attacked them, and he went after them. And he wanted to make a true difference, and I applaud him for that. You look around the country and you see mayors and governors not necessarily doing that. And you certainly don't see it in Washington. And so if you don't like what you see going on in government, get involved, make calls, volunteer, and get involved and see what kind of changes. Because I think the politics is the number one holdup in any legitimate tax reform. All right, what else can we talk about on tax reform? We'll hear about immigration in a little bit, but immigration is impacting everybody. Most businesses, at least in Georgia, but around the country, are flow through for tax purposes. They're LLCs, they're partnerships, they're S corporations, which means who files a tax return and pays the tax? The owners, the individuals. So if you're an individual, maybe you have a green card, maybe you're trying to get citizenship, you got to be extra careful with how you're filing your taxes. There's a new offshore voluntary disclosure where folks who haven't been reporting non-U.S. income, the IRS is really giving you amnesty to a certain extent. And
you can't say amnesty. You can't use that word. It's really bad. Phil Kent will come down.
Okay. So there are all different ways that the IRS is looking at you, and the amnesty in the tax sense, not in the immigration sense. But anyway, the immigration issue goes into tax. And frankly, I had a client I was on the phone with last night that has a green card and has issues, and she's concerned about how she's going to do her tax return. And so we have to involve her immigration lawyer to make sure everything is good. Number 6 on the list. There's increased audits. Federal audits, state audits. I don't know if you know this, but many state departments of revenue have agents based in the state of Georgia, living in the state of Georgia, Georgia residents that are only here to audit you. Okay? Most big companies are already under audit. Most big, large companies have actually 2 or 3 offices that are full-time use of the IRS, the state revenue authority. So now they're coming after all of us, the smaller and mid-sized businesses, okay? And again, because most businesses are flow-through, at the end of the day, even if your business is getting looked at, it's going to end up at you if your business is an S corporation or a partnership or an LLC. So just be aware. And so what does that mean? You have to comply with the law. So you just need to make sure that if you're doing your own tax returns, that you're doing a good job. And if you're seeking an advisor, make sure it's someone who you know and who you trust.
And on that point, that states get 30% of their revenue from sales and use tax. So if you're seeing an uptick on the audits of the sales and use tax,